Welcome. My name is Dr. Deidre Moss. If you're just joining me, with that, let's get into our topic. Now, let me start off by saying I am not an economist or a financial expert. However, I believe that as an informed citizen, I've been invited into this discussion on this topic. I invite you to join me as I seek to dissect and discuss this topic. And before I dive a little bit deeper into this discussion, I think that it's important to get an understanding of the issue that is what is a tariff. So, by definition, a tariff is a tax that is imposed by one country on the goods and services imported from another country. Tariffs are also referred to as customs duties, or in simple terms, a tariff is a tax that is placed on goods entering a country or leaving a country. Tariffs are implemented for several reasons. For example, tariffs can be implemented to generate revenue, to protect local industries and consumers, and it can also be implemented as a form of retaliation. It is important to note that implementing tariffs can produce positive and negative impacts. So, on the positive side, tariffs can protect a country's interests and generate revenue, as previously mentioned. But on the negative side, tariffs impact consumers and incite trade issues among countries. And for the purpose of this discussion, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the impact of tariffs from the consumer side. And so we're going to jump and just dive into this topic. So, what are the facts? On February 1st, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to impose tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China. In response to this executive order, Mexico, Canada, and China responded in kind. On February 3rd, President Trump announced a 30-day freeze on tariffs imposed on Mexico and Canada. On February 4th, a 10% tariff that was imposed on China's imports took effect, and China responded in kind to Trump's tariffs. On February 13th, as a result of actions, President Trump announced action would be taken to reciprocal tariffs. On March 1st, 25% tariffs were imposed on import from Mexico and China. On April 2nd, Trump announced his plan for global reciprocal tariffs with a 10% baseline to be implemented beginning April 9th. Also, our local newspaper, the Tribune reported, that the Bahamas is among other nations that was hit with a 10% tariffs. So, a 10% tariffs. So, as this implementation of global reciprocal tariffs take effect, it is important for us to take note of the political and economic landscape as consumers. We will most likely be impacted by the changes and amendments. We are aware that the Bahamas imports many goods for consumption, and much of our food, our clothing, and everyday essentials are imported. We are big consumers in this country. We're more consumers than producers. So, here are some questions that we need to think about, and maybe some questions we may need to ask ourselves. How will the global trade war affect us economically? How will this impact our standard of living? What can we do as a country to mitigate potential negative impacts of the global trade war? Reflect on why we as a nation are not putting more of our resources into becoming major producers rather than major consumers. So we want to break away, take a minute to break away from the talks on tariffs And if you want to jump in, if there's any comments, feel free to do so. I am open to comments, and I'm open to hearing from others on this topic because, like I said, this these policies impact all of us. So I want to take a minute for our motivational minute. I want to take a break, also jump to any comments that we may have as well. So I'm jumping into my motivational minute, and it focuses on the thought that you never let people find you where they may have left you. You evolve, and in life, in life, there are many people who often say that everyone isn't meant to stay in your life. Some people, they enter your life for a reason and for a season. But there are times when we might encounter people who may walk away and who abandon us when we need them the most. And there are some people who believe that without them, our lives would fall apart, or our lives would not be better, or maybe even worse, or somehow worse without them. Now, whether we believe or whether we may have made them feel this way, or whether they would have developed these thoughts on their own, it is not as important as never giving people the satisfaction that if they decide to walk away from you, that it's over for you. That all depends on you. The fact is that God controls our destiny if you believe in Him, and no single person can determine what He can and what He will do through us. So it doesn't matter who goes, it doesn't matter who stays. When your purpose has already been determined and when your path is clear, people will never meet you where they left you. You continue to evolve. So, this brings us to the end of our motivational minute. And this brings us to the end of our session. It was short. I didn't invite anybody else in today. It was just me today. And we talked about tariffs because, like I said, tariffs impact all of us. And I think it's important for us to keep our ears to the ground in the political and economic landscape. And again, this brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for tuning in and joining me today. We want to remind you that if you want to advertise with us, let us know. You can also reach us through our page. Our contacts are there. We want to grow, so grow with us. To those watching via social media, thank you for listening in. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming discussions. Comment under our videos. Let us know your thoughts and let us know what you want us to talk about. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on our Instagram and Twitter pages. All of our social pages are listed on our page, and our contacts are also listed on our page. So, with that, we'll bring this session to an end. We kept it short, we kept it simple, and so we'll end that. And remember, like I always say, let's think, talk, do. Thank you.